So welcome back to another video. Now it's actually 11:36 evening or night. Okay, I should be ending the recordings around 12:30 at this rate because paper 4 usually take me at least 1 hour ish. So yeah, paper 2 of this particular set is actually one of the harder paper 2 from the May June session. So today we're going to explore whether this paper was any different. Okay, so yeah, before we go into the paper review, a shameless plug here. This video here is sponsored by the Math Academy, where I'm offering group class tutoring, private tutoring for math and additional mathematics. So for more info and details, feel free to fill in the Google form below and I'll reach out to you to give you some advice, which class to join. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's get back to the video. First question here, a fruit drink is made of using 1.5 liters of apple juice, 450 milliliters of mango juice, asking us in the simplest form. So in this case, I will actually convert everything into milliliters first. The 1.5 is actually 1,500 and 450. So just divide it accordingly. You should be able to get the answer as 10 and 3. Okay, so that's pretty much it for question A. And then they mention about 1 liters of fruit drinks is shared between 3 different cups. The amount in the cups in the ratio of 9, 6, and 10. Find the milliliters in each cup. Okay, so what you're going to do is to find the total ratio first, which when you add all of them up, it should result in 25. So 25, take 1 liters. 1 liters is basically 1000 ml. Multiply with 9 over 25 to find the first one. Repeat the same process, just that you are doing for different ratio. So through working this out, you should be able to get your answer. 1000 times 9 over 25 is 360 for the first one. Then the next one is just 6. It's 240. And then the last one is a 10. So when you make all these necessary changes, you'll be able to get your answer as shown here. Moving on to question C. A shop buys bottles of the fruit drinks for $3.20 each and sell them for a profit of 15%. Okay, so a profit of 15% means that the price is now marked up on top of the 100% that it originally worth $3.20. So it's basically 115%. Just take and multiply it up. You should be able to get your answer here. So 3.2 times 115%. You get your final answer as 368. Okay, so far everything seems pretty generic. Okay, not something that we haven't seen before. Moving on to question D, where they ask about number of bottle. Okay, so I saw the first keyword here, exponentially. All right, and then 5 years ago it was 16,620. Okay, so this was the initial amount. With the exponential growth, this would be a positive since it's increasing. 5 years later, they ask us how much did we sell this year. So just multiply with 102.5% to the power of 5. You should be able to get your answer as 18,804.0045, which is approximately 18,804 bottles here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for question 1D. Moving on to E. Okay, so I saw a couple of keywords here for this question. Nearest basically is a giveaway that this is a upper bound and lower bound question. Okay, they want us to find a lower bound of the distance between the top of the bottle and the shelf above it. So if I analyze the relationship here to find the gap or the distance here, we have to take shelf minus bottle height to get the gap distance. So in this case, the relationship between the variables is actually minus, which means for me to get the lowest possible value, I need the shelf to be lower, okay, as much as possible, and I need my bottles to be higher. So for the shelf to be lower, okay, I will now look into the rounding values. So one of them is nearest millimeters, millimeters, and the other one is nearest centimeters. So quite tricky over here because they ask us about 1 mm. So when you're calculating the rounding values here, it's a standard step where you have to make it into centimeters first, and whatever values that you were given must be divided by 2, which means we have to decide on the spot whether to plus or minus for the bottle of juice height or the tall here. As for the other part, which is the distance between the shelf, okay, this one here, they gave us nearest cm, means they're being nice to us, which we can immediately use it for the calculation, coming to a conclusion of plus minus 0.5. Okay, so if you notice the remark that I made earlier, the shelf height must be lower, which means that the 23 centimeters given must be minus by 0.5 before I proceed to minus the bottle height of 18.5, and because of the nature that I put it plus here, I actually need to add it by 0.05. So with this effort that you make, you just have to key in 22.5 minus 18.55. So 2.5 minus 18.55, your final result is 3.95 as your final answer for E. So it's a bit unique for this question here, as it's been a while since they last asked subtraction relationship between the variables. So you really need to understand how upper bound and lower bound works, otherwise you will get stuck in this question for sure. Okay, so moving on to question 2, okay, where it's a parallel line. So I'll be able to find my A pretty straightforward due to the straight line nature. So A is pretty much by having 180 minus 38, you will get 142. And then to find the other side, it would just be a alternate angle, I guess, because of the parallel sides. So this helps us to further verify that the answer is also 142 over there. Interior angle of a regular 12-sided polygon. So you will notice that the term total is missing. So the formula that you use is going to be a little bit different, where you just divide it directly. So since they spoon feed us the numbers of sides, you just have to sub in n as 12, divide by 12, and you get your answer here. So 12 minus 2 times 180 and divide it by 12, where you will get each side's value as 150. Okay, that's for question 2b. And when we continue to section C, okay, so this one, F, immediately I know that it is actually 56 degrees. So there's little to no calculation needed, because what they are testing us here is actually they want us to build the ability to look at this as a triangle. Okay, basically ignore whatever that was happening inside of it. This thing is what we call alternate segment theorem, where the angles inside is not their primary focus, but it serves a purpose, which is this arrow over here. It basically tells us that it was the interior angle and opposite of it. So this 56 now is transferred to the top, which explains why F turns into 56 degrees. So drawing the arrow will actually help because it helps points you towards the answer. Okay, so that's the special thing about alternate segment theorem. Okay, so once you sort that out, you only have one task left, which is to figure out the G. So G is a little bit special because they want you to know that angle at the center is actually twice the value at the circumference, which means the 56 will now be doubled up. 56 times 2 would turn into 112 here. So this 112 is actually an isosceles triangle. Reason being, your OP and OM is actually a radius. So 112, 180 minus 112 and divided by 2, you should get 34 on each side. So G equals to 180 minus 112 and divided by 2. Okay, so that's it for question C. Moving on to D, we have a cyclic quadrilateral asking us to work our way out to find K. Okay, they're actually being super nice here. I started to think that it was because they make the paper two so hard. They're trying to like give us marks or spoon feed us relatively easy graph here. Okay, so this 129 serve a very important function here because how cyclic quadrilateral works is the opposite angle would add up and becomes 180. So k plus 129 equals 180. The answer is actually, I think, around 15. What? 180 minus 129, or 52. Hey, 51, I'm correct. Okay. Oh no, it's happening. I'm not braining again. Okay, the answer is just 51 degree here for question D. Okay, question 3A now asking us for the estimated mean. I have no choice but to find the midpoint first for each of this group, which I have 5, which I have 10 plus 25 divided by 2. 35 divided by 2 is actually 17.5. 25 plus 40 divided by 2 is actually 32.5. The final part is actually 50. 40 plus 60 divided by 2. Yes, correct. Anything that I miss? 10 plus 25, double check. Yeah, should be correct. So finding the mean now is our next step. So 5 times 3 plus 17.5 times 18 plus 32.5 times 15 plus 50 times 4. Okay, when we divide it up with the 40, we should be able to get our answer here, which is 5 times 3 plus 17.5 times 18 plus 32.5 times 15 plus 50 times 4, and then divide it by 40. So with this, you will get your answer is 25.4375. I have a tendency to not adjust anything. Don't round your answer to 3 significant figures because it revolves around mean calculation. So you actually have to keep it as it is. And this is one of the few questions that you will deliberately avoid rounding it. Next question, frequency density. Good news about this is that they didn't include any sample or any specific group that was previously drawn. So we can immediately rule out the possibility of having scale factor. So everything is just straightforward calculation. 3 over 10 is just 0.3. Okay. And the next group is just 18 divided by 15. It's actually 1.2. Okay, I will attach the workings later. Okay, for those who don't know how it works, but please remember it is always by having the frequency divided by the class interval. So if just for the sake of demonstrating it, this is how it works. Take the upper bound minus the small lower bound, and you get your answer, which is 1 for the next group that hovers around 25 all the way. Okay, so I have to adjust these figures a little bit to avoid any kind of confusion. So all the way from 25 to 40, it's 1. And then one last part, which is here. 50. So 4 over the group was 20, you will get 0.2 at the end. Okay, so that's pretty much it for your answer here. Okay, it's a little bit crooked, but if you're using pen and paper, this kind of issue like this and this inaccuracy shouldn't happen. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this question 3A here. Working is as attached. Okay, moving on to the next part. 2 students were selected randomly from the 40 students. Calculate the probability that one student take more than 25 and the other take 10 minutes or less to school. The problem with this question is that they didn't tell us whether we specifically which students was chosen first. There's no order or arrangement in place. So we have the option here to decide what to do to this question. So more than 25 is actually 19 of them. 19 over 40 followed by the next one. So please understand that no replacement rule automatically applies to students here. Okay, although they didn't mention it, but it's a default settings that we all do to human related matters. So less than 10 is actually 3. This was the first condition of the scenario. So the same thing, you can choose less than 10 minutes students first, then followed by those who took more than 25 minutes. So if you double it down, the answer should be the same by keying in 2, okay, 19 over 40 times 3 over 39. So this is the part that a lot of students confuse themselves with. Okay, they will always ask, okay, my students, even my students, when they first encounter this, they will ask, why are you so sure that putting a 2 there will work? Because if you notice, we are using the same value. You have 3 both at the numerator. You have 19 and both at the numerator as well. The denominator is basically just a swapping. Okay, so it makes no difference here. That's why you can just double it. You don't have to write it again. Okay, but for the sake of demonstrating it, I will always write it out. Okay, for those who is new here, please take note that the 19 is basically more than 25 and the other one was less than 10. So I'm just listing down all the possibility here so that I didn't miss out any one of it. So this is for question 3A part 3. Moving on to question B, okay, they ask us the shortest time taken. So the shortest time taken here was hidden from us by using the term range, and they gave us the longest. So if you remember, range is basically big minus small, okay, equals to 25. The biggest number was 30. So to find the smallest possible time, small will be shift to the back, and the 30 will minus 25, getting the small. okay, as 5 minutes. This is how you find the answer here. So I usually take the center part since I know this is 5. Longest was 30. Okay, that's pretty much it. Then the next thing that I will draw is actually the median, which was given to us at 22. That's actually very good. They are being super nice and cooperative here. Okay, so up to you lah. If you want to extend a line all the way, you can just follow one standard measure. Okay, so it looks more organized. So lower quarter was 8, which is here. So you have one last thing to draw, which is the upper quarter. So they hide that from us by doing interquarter range. So to find the interquarter range equals to upper quarter minus lower quarter. So if we know that up is, we actually don't know what's the up, but we do know what's the lower quarter, which is 8, and they have a difference of 19 here. So if you shift the 8 away, 19 plus 8 will result as 27. So the answer is somewhere around here. Okay, now combine all of them up. You should be able to get your answer just like that. Nothing too fancy. Everything is here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for my question B part 2. Moving on to part 3. Question part B number 3 here. Just say that 101 of the 200 people took more than 22 minutes to fill up the questionnaire. Explain why he's wrong. It's obviously wrong with one reason only, because the median was located at 22 minutes. So basically anything beyond here is only median represents that only 50% of the people took more than 22 minutes. Basically, there's no chance that 101 is correct, okay, because 50% is just 100 people. Okay, so 101 is more than 50%, which makes the statement invalid. Okay, that's pretty much it, the reason why I rejected part 3 here. Okay, moving on to question 4. Wow, there's a lot of questions today. Oh my. What time are we going to finish recording? Okay, so diagram shows half cylinder with a radius of 12 and a length meters of 1 meters. Okay, the tank is fixed horizontally and completely filled with water. Okay, find the volume in the tank. So first thing first, I have to find the semicircle's area first. This is a reminder to us that we will be using half pi r square. Okay, and the 1 meters over there is basically 100 cm. So just have to key in 0.5 times pi times 12 square times 100. You'll be able to get your answer as 7,200 pi. Okay, since they wanted us to correct it to nearest 10 centimeters, okay, you can feel free to write it out first. Okay, 4671, and then after you round it, it should be 22,620. Okay, because the 10 is located here when you point towards the back. The numbers at the back is actually lesser than 10. So you round it up and you get your answer as 620. Moving on to the next question. They say water is removed until the level of water is 6 cm below the top of the tank. Okay, find the amount of water left in the tank. Okay, so here comes the next challenge here. We do know that the entire thing was supposed to be 12 at first. Now we only have 6 left. Okay, how are we going to make sense out of this? I do know how much is this part worth. I do know how much is this part worth. Okay. If I were you, I'll probably try to find that out first. Okay, by having, oh, what's happening? Okay, this right here is a triangle where we have 6, 12, and I'm going to use this to find the angle first. This is actually a adjacent alongside with hypo. So I'm going to put a theta here. Cosine theta equals to 6 over 12. Cosine inverse 6 over 12, which turns out to be 60 degree. So this 60 degree here might be able to find us the answer, because 60 and 60 is 120, and then the remaining part should be worth 30 each. Okay, so yeah, we have quite of the answer already, apparently. So I'm going to find the area of this cross section first. I have 2 of it, so 2 times 30 over 360 times pi times r squared. R is 12, and then square it. And then I have 2 of this triangle here. Okay, the area of it will be half AB sine C. Half times 6 times 12 times sine 60 degree. Okay, I'm too lazy to backtrack the base and height. Okay, I'm just using the shortcut half AB sine C here. Okay, the 6 and 12 come from this triangle, and the 60 is here. And apparently we have 2 of them, so it will be having a 2 in front also lah. Okay, making these 2 shapes here. I'm gonna add them up first. 30 over 360 times pi times 12 square. We got 24 pi. Add it with 6 times 12 times sine 60. So this right here, we'll get 24 pi plus 36 square root 3. And then this answer is quite important, because we have 1 meters thickness or height here. 1 meters is 100. So when I multiply the results with 100, I got my answer as 13,775.2053. So the number of water left in the tank, and then taking my 7,200 pi minus the answer, it should show us the answer. Oh, so it was the last part that I miscalculated. So everything was correct. It's just 8844.26, which is approximately 8840 lah, if you were to round it. But 8844.26 will be the exact results. Okay. So over here, nothing too special. Provided you don't panic, you should be able to use your SOHCAHTOA to navigate through the whole thing here. Okay, the multiply by 100 is the process where we calculate the total part of here. Okay, and then we have to minus it out. So we will be taking 7,200 pi minus whatever that was happening here. And you got your answer as 8844.26, which is approximately 8840. Okay, so that's it for your answer here for question 4A2. Moving on to the next part, a rectangular fish tank with a length of 42.35 was filled with water. Okay, rectangular, okay, blah, 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 blah. A stone lies at the bottom of the tank. When the stone is removed, the depth of the water decreased by 0.2. And the density of the stone is 2.2 gram. Okay, so I asked us for the mass of the stone. So we need to find the volume first. Rectangular tank. So this is the part that was tricky here. They gave us the length, they gave us the width, they actually gave us the height. They told us it was 0.2. So just to let you picture the whole thing, this is what's happening here. So basically we have 42, we have 35, we have 0.2. This is the volume of the stone. So density is 2.2 equals to mass divided by volume, which is 0.2 times 35 times 42. So when we take 2.2 divide by the answers that we have here, we should be able to find the gram of it. Oh, when divide shift to the other side is multiply. So mass should be 2.2 times 0.2 times 35 times 42. You get your answer as 646.8, which is approximately 647 if you were to round it to 3 significant figures. Okay, this is for question B. It looks very complicated, but actually it's just the generic stuff. Okay, AG make with the base. Okay, if they're being nice to you, they would have mentioned the base alphabet, which is your A, B, C, D. The things that repeated was A, and then the number or alphabet directly underneath of G is C. So this is a reminder on what triangle to focus on. Okay, if I draw it nicely, it will look something like this with G, C, and A. The slanted part is how much? We do have the 15 though. That's a good news. This was the angle here. And then we are finding AC. So to find AC, there's only one way to do so. Okay, that is by having our, oh no, it crashed. Ah, the answer is gone. Luckily, we already recorded it down. Okay, the iPad is crashing because I've been using it a little bit too much lately. And I didn't delete my old archive. That's why it's lagging. So just to let you guys know what's happening, I'm going to write down necessary information. 12 and 8. The objective of this is to find out my AC along with the bigger triangle here. That is my AGC. Okay, if this persists, I'm gonna be forced to move to a different application. So later we check how it goes lah. Okay, the angle that they are looking for is this. So I have to use my Pythagoras theorem by having 12 square plus 8 square first, getting the results of 4 square root 13. 4 square root 13 belongs to here. And then to find the answer, this is your opposite. This is your adjacent. Okay, so tangent 15 over 4 square root 13. Tangent inverse of the whole thing. We should be able to get our answer here. Tangent inverse 15 4 square root 13. You will get your theta value at 46.125. Okay, which is approximately 46.1. If you were to round it to 1 decimal place, follow the requirement of Cambridge. Okay, so that's it for question 4. Okay, we will now move on to question 5. Indices. So 25 is actually 5 square. The conversion is optional again. You only do it if you find it helpful. Okay, multiplied in 2 times 3 over 2, 6 times 3 over 2, 5 to the power of 3. It's actually 9. So it's 125x9 as your final answer. Just to double check, it's 125. Yes. Okay, next, n term of this sequence. This is my favorite, the exponential type. Okay, so there's no need to find a common difference, but instead I will write it in this particular form. It's a vertical form. To remind myself that 36 is 6 square, 6 is 6 to the power of 1, 6 is 0, and then 6 is -1. So things that I noticed that was repeating for sure is actually 6. And then your focus should be channeled towards the power section. So this is your n equals to 1, n equals to 2, n equals to 3, n equals to 4. So when you run a comparison, you're starting to ask yourself, how did 1 ended up becoming -1? Okay, so you can also do this on the side, just focusing on the power. Okay, you'll find that the common difference is actually adding 1, adding 1, adding 1. Okay, and when you try your best to trace it backwards, you will get -2 because it was a -1 here. This comes to a conclusion that your common difference is +1, your zero term is -2, so your n term is basically CD times n plus minus 0th term. So the plus minus there is just a reminder to you that whether to put plus or minus depends on the zero term that you calculated. So it's just 1n minus 2, and you can conclude this question as n minus 2, and that's it. This is how you find the n term sequence. Okay, so this is an exponential sequence. Moving on to question C. Okay, this is actually one of my favorite because students often get stuck when solving this. So expand the first two, getting a -3x here, and then +4x, and then -12. So this was the first part. Please leave it here, and then your updated equation will look something like this. Okay, and then as you continue to expand, you get x cubed, 3x cubed to be exact, minus x squared. Repeat the same thing, plus 3x squared, minus x, and then lastly you have -36x and +12. So conclude everything, 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 37x and 12, that will be your final answer. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving on to question D. They asked us to show that it would simplify to this particular form. So to get it done, I think I am forced to rearrange it first. I will actually minus of 3x plus 5 because I transferred the whole thing back. Originally it was positive, when you shift it back it becomes negative. So x minus 2, when you expand it out, it's gonna be x minus 3x minus 5, making the answer -2x minus 5. So 7 will becomes -2x minus 5, multiply with x minus 2, expand it, you will get -2x squared, +4x, -5x plus 10. Reorganize them, bring everything to the front. I will get a 7 minus 10, which is -3, which proven what they asked us to show. Okay, solve by factorization, asking us for 2 exact answer. I think this will be the way to go, 2x and 3x. They wanted positive x here, so plus and minus. So 2x plus 3, x minus 1 was your part of your answer. X equals to negative 3 over 2, x equals to 1. Okay, so yeah, that's it for D number 2. And then we have E here asking us for the cylinder height. A solid cylinder with base of R and height of 3x. So solid cylinder. I'm going to try to draw it out as long as it's not too ugly. We apparently has a radius of x, height of 3x. Total surface area of the cylinder is same as total surface area of a semisphere. Okay, surface area here has a pi r square, and we have double it because top and the bottom. Meanwhile, for the curved part, is actually your pi r square and h. Okay, and then they say that it was equivalent to a solid surface area of a hemisphere. Hemisphere is this. Apparently we have a top part, a top cover of pi r square as well. Okay, and the shape of it will have a 5y over there plus half 4 pi r squared. So this information of the 4 pi r squared was given by the question. Okay, I'm just plucking it out and put it in. Time to sub in the value. I get 2 pi x squared. Over here, I will get pi 3 pi x squared as ax cubed this time. Reason behind is the r will be squared, making it x squared, and then multiply with 3x again. On the other side, we have pi times 5y being squared. So it will become 25 pi y squared. And then 2 pi again, you have another 25 pi y squared. So making it a 50 lah. Okay, I rearrange everything first before I come to a conclusion. So good news is you will get your 75 pi y squared at the back. The front part, however, you will get something like, it remains unchanged, I guess. So just leave it. Okay, so far this is the answers that I've gotten. Did I miss anything or overlook anything? I don't think so. I know why. I'm not braining. Wake up, Dixon. I finally noticed where I messed it up. It's actually 2 pi r times h. I mix up the formula. It's 2 pi r times h, making it here when I fill it in 2 times pi times x times 3x. So it should end up as 6 pi x squared. So when you have 6 pi x squared, when the when you multiply or cross them off, you will get 8x squared equals to 75 y squared. And your x squared will just be 75 y squared over 8. Okay, I'm near brain dead right now, I think. Now it's 12:24. I think I need another 30 minutes or so. Hopefully I will finish before that. Okay, let's squeeze every last bit of me out. Let's continue. Question 6. Show that BD is 9.55. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. I'll be using this triangle here, where it's actually your cosine rule. Okay, where I have 10.4, 6.5, and 64. So just use your dB formula equals to square root of 6.5 square plus 10.4 square minus 2, 6.5, 10.4, and cosine 64. Okay, that should be it. 6.5 square plus 10.4 square minus 2, 6.5, 10.4, cosine 64. So the things that students always ask is, how are you so sure that this is the formula to use? Okay, I actually saw a trend there, which is I have the angle in the middle and then both of the sides next to it. So if that's the case, you'll be able to apply your cosine rule and find the opposite sides. Okay, so just use your cosine rule, the generic ones, then you should be done. BCD, however, is super easy. It's just a total interior angle. So minus of 26 and 42. You should be able to get 112 without any issue. Okay. So next one, calculating CD. Since we already have the angle, I can use sine rule now. 112 is actually correspond to the 9.55 that we previously proved. And since they are looking for CD, I'll be using sine 42 here. And then CD is what we have to find. So CD is actually 9.55 times sine 42 and divided by sine 112. So with this measure here, you should be able to get your answer as 6.89, okay, as your CD's calculation. Shortest distance of D to AB, basically telling us or giving us a hint that we are drawing a line down over here, forming the 90-degree. So this is actually the shortest distance that they were looking for. So if I were to draw it out specifically just to help you on finding the answer, okay, let's say this is the x that we are looking for. We'll be using 6.5 and the angle information of 64. So this is actually opposite. This is your hypo, which means sine 64 equals to x over 6.5. X is basically 6.5 sine 64. You'll be able to get your answer 6.5 times sine 64. So your final answer here is 5.842, which is 5.84 after correcting it to 3 significant figures. So question 7, okay, we are about at the last stretch now, last few questions. Make x the subject. The 4x, when you transfer it to the front, is going to be positive, making it a 7x and 14. So x is actually 14 divided by 7, which is 2 here. And then when you extract out 5a from both of them, it will be 10a plus 1. So this is a very common mistake where when you notice that the entire thing was being extracted, you still need to include the 1 there, because otherwise when you multiply it back, it wouldn't become the same answer. So the most common mistake that I always receive is students leaving it as 5a times 2a. We're forgetting the 1 there. If you miss out the 1, you won't be able to get the answer at all. Okay, so that's one of the things to take note. Factorize fully means they want you to expand. Please do not just square the things inside. You actually have to do it manually like this, showing that it becomes 4x squared minus 6x plus 9, making it 4x squared minus 12x minus 9, positive 9. So 4x squared minus 12x positive 9 minus 9, you will get 4x squared minus 12x. Taking out the 4x from both of them, you will get negative 3. So 4x bracket x minus 3 is your final answer here for question C. Moving on to question D, function question. Just put in the 4 here for the first one. You will get 15, and then the GG2 basically tells us that we have to find G2 first. Always sort it out from the inside. So G2 is basically 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. Then you have G9 here. Wow, it's telling me good night, man. Whew. It's 19683 as my final answer. Okay, good night. Okay, I saw what the examiner is doing here. Okay, next one is GK. GK is just telling us that the X will be replaced as K. For the 7, however, you have to do it manually. -1. 7 times 4 minus 1 is 27. Okay, so 3k equals to 27. What normally students will do now is to change the 27 into something related to 3. It's actually 3 to the power of 3 if not mistaken. And when you bring it up to the numerator, it becomes -3, resulting that our k is actually -3. That's pretty much it. Okay, so moving on to question 8, which is our inequalities here. So they first already gave us one of the line. It was not more than 16, which means the y is large cake. Less than 10 large cake is to tell us that no matter what's happening, we won't have more than 10 of them. So that's it for the first one. And then more small cakes than large cakes. X is more than y. And then the last one is total of not more than 24. So it means that they can be 24, but that's the maximum number here. Okay. So with this information, we have to draw it out and shade the region. The first thing that I will draw is actually the x lesser than equals to 16. So this is very important because it will be a solid line that cross here. Okay, that's the first thing. And I'll put an arrow reminding myself that if I were to shade, this is the part that I will keep. And then I will shade off this thing right here. So that one is gone. Moving on to the second line, I'm going to use different color here. Next thing that I'm going to draw is a horizontal line that y is less than 10. So it was here actually, and they wanted the lower part, which means whatever that was at the top is now cancelled off. Okay, so we only have the last small little rectangle over there. And then the next one is when they are equals to each other. Okay, but the catch now is I just overlooked something. Okay, the previous line in blue must be in dotted. Otherwise, the answer will be wrong because they used the inequalities as less than. So I got to change that. So same goes to the next thing that I'm going to draw now. Okay, it's going to be slanted, crossing through the center at 45. Okay, and things to remind yourself is that it will also be dotted line due to the less than nature there. Okay, but there's still a problem, which is we have to decide which part do they actually want. So if you look over there, they said y is actually lesser than x. So the y-intercept comes into play now. Okay, we're going to zoom in and write down -2 here. So which part is actually lesser than, if I look from the y-intercept, okay, the 2 is actually bigger. So the bottom part is actually what they wanted, so that it fulfills that y was lesser than x. So this part is gone, leaving us a so-called trapezium shape over there. This was the remaining part's answer. We have one last line, then we can come to our conclusion here. So the last line is actually this, where if I were to treat it as 20, y as the subject, I will shift away the x first. Okay, I have a y-intercept of 24, and when my y equals to 0, x will be 24. So this over here will be a solid line that crosses through both of the dots that I just pointed out here. Okay, they should be touching this, crossing it out. Okay, So readjust it a little bit, getting the answers looking something like this. Okay, so they wanted lesser than again. So ask yourself between 26 and 22. If it was using lesser than, I'm supposed to focus on 22 is what they wanted. So this is a reminder that we will be scraping this off, having the final answer over here as the R. So R was this part, the rest was all scraped off already. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Okay, pay attention to details, especially the inequalities that they use. When are you supposed to use dotted line? When are you supposed to use solid line? You should be very firm and strong, okay, to demonstrate your understanding on this. Question C. Bakers earn 8 for decorating a small cake and 12 for decorating a large cake. Find the largest amount that a baker can earn. So this is to ask us to find the corner value. Okay, there's a few things that I noticed that I would pay some effort to find it. It will actually be here. This was one of the corner. Here was one of the corner. And students will always ask, sure, why not this one? Okay, the last dot that I would exclude it is because the line here is dotted. So you're not supposed to involve dotted line in the calculation, and the biggest contender will be between these 2 points lah. So we have 15 and 9, or we can use 16 and 8. This will be 2 of the possibility here. So let's put it into play. 15 times 8 plus 9 times 12. Okay, versus another one is 16 times 8 plus 8 times 12. Okay, let's see which one gave us a bigger answer. The first one was 228. The next one was 224. So obviously, the first one is the biggest. Okay, so it's just 228 lah. This one you can scrape it off and just reject it. Okay, so sometimes they will even ask you how much was each of the amount. Make sure you don't rub away your equation too quick. Okay, if they ever ask you for the amount, it will be 15 small and then 9 big cakes. Okay, so that's it for this question. Moving on to question A, asking us for the parameter and show in a specific formula. Wow, they ask us for the shaded. Shaded is basically 60 over 360 times 2 times pi times r of 10. This is to find the arc CD. CA and DB should be the same. So this two is worked out by having 17 minus 10 is basically 7 each. And we have one last thing, which is AB here. AB is again 60 over 360 times 2 times pi times 17. Okay, so work it out. We should be able to get the answer. 60 over 360 times 2 times 10. I will get 10 over 3 pi plus 14 plus 2 times 17 is 17 over 3 pi. So when these two add up, it will become 77 over 3 pi plus 14. Yeah, so you get 9 pi and then plus 14. So the A is basically 9, the B is 14, and that's it for this question. Moving on to B, we have area of this hexagon. Find the side length of the hexagon. Okay, they ask us to show. So the key catch for hexagon is that if you were to pay attention to it, it can actually be split into 6 equilateral triangle. So to find one of the equilateral triangle, I will take 173.3 divided by 6 first. 127.3 divided by 6. I get 1273 over 60 first. This is one triangle. So for the triangle area, because of it being an equilateral triangle, all sides will be the same as 60 degree. So if I pick one of them and zoom in and assume that the side was X, to find this area, it will be half AB sine 60, and you will get this results here. So if I were to make the x squared the subject, 127360 will be divided by 1 over 2 will be divided by sine 60. So 1273 over 60 divided by 1 over 2 divided by sine 60. Your x results will actually be square root of this entire thing. Okay, I'm too lazy to rewrite everything. So I'm gonna write it down like this, having a sine 60 over here. Okay, square root answer should be the way to go. So we did manage to prove that it was 6.99984 blah 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 blah, which is approximately 7.0 centimeters if we were to round it to 1 decimal place. Okay, that's it for B. And when they ask you for volume of the prism, oh, they're being super nice here. So just multiply it by 10, it should be 1273. But for surface area, you must now take note that if you would open it up, there will be top and bottom. So 127.3, there's two of them. Okay, so when you go forward to the next part, okay, there's a lot of rectangles. So the rectangles is 7 times 10 each. But when you count, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 is here. So you have 6 of them. So just add it up. You should be able to get the answer 127.3 times 2 plus 7 times 10 times 6. It will get 674.6, which is approximately 675 centimeter square. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Last question, question 10. Is this the last question? Oh no, this is the second last question. Oh my. Okay, it's almost one. Okay, let's see. And push it through faster now. So x midpoint is just 6 plus 3 divided by 2. 2 plus -4 divided by 2. You will get 4.5 and -1 as your answer here. If you want to keep it as fraction, you can go ahead and do so. And for the length, it will just be your y2 minus y1, y2 minus y1 square plus x2 minus x1 square. So just key in your calculator, -6 square plus -3 square. The answer will be 3 square root 5, which is approximately 6.71. Okay. Moving on to the next part, equation of the L is just 3y equals to -4x plus 12 first. Okay, making this as the subject, 4x will be divided by 3, 12 will be divided by 3. Make some effort to further organize it, please. -4 over 3x with a 4 here as your final answer. Next part, find where it crosses the y-axis. Because your effort earlier, you will know that it passes through 0, 4 almost immediately. So the gradient part, it will just be 4 over 3. Do not fall for the trap. And yeah, line P is perpendicular to L. So this part here is very important because there's a formula called m original times m new will be -1. Original was 4 over 3 times m new. Make the m new as the subject. M new will be 3 over 4. So y equals to 3 over 4x plus c. Sub in the 5 and 6 into it. You'll be able to get the answer as 5 minus 3 over 4 times 6. You will get c as 1 over 2. So 3 over 4x plus 1 over 2 is our final answer for this question here. Last part. Okay, so now we are at the last question. Okay, question 11a here. They talk about the point -1, 6 lies on the curve. It's the direct function of this. Show that -1 and 6 is a stationary point of the curve. Okay, so I just have to double check when I sub in -1. If the answer turns out to be 0, means that it's a stationary point. Okay, so just double check dy dx equals to how much? -1, 3 minus 9, -1 square plus 5, -4, -1. Okay, the -1 returns into positive. And in this case, indeed, it was 0. Okay, hence it was a stationary point. So dy dx equals to 0. And -1, 6 is a stationary point. Okay, moving on to the next part. They ask us for the gradient. Okay, so dy dx of this question is basically differentiating it. Power will be decreased by 1 as you transfer it out. Okay, another one is 6x to the power of 0. Okay, if you were to write it out, okay, it was 1 times 6, x to the power of 1 minus 1. Here should be 3 minus 1 if I write it in details. So 6x squared minus 6 is your answer here. Okay, when x is -2, your dy dx is basically your gradient function here. Sub in and check, you should be able to get your answer. Okay, you get 18 as the results. Find the x coordinates of the stationary point of this curve. Your 6x squared minus 6 will be equivalent to 0. Let's say if you make some effort to take out the 6, you get x squared minus 1 equals to 0. X squared equals to 1. X is basically plus minus 1. Okay, because of the squared nature. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's kind of weird because the question seems to be like cut short here. And there's really nothing very special. This makes me wonder, I think they're just pitying the students at this point, okay, because they set the paper 2 so hard. Question that I think might be slightly challenging for this paper here is actually this section E here from question 1. What else that was challenging? It will be this. Some of the student might not be able to answer or understand what does median means. This some students might struggle, which is your 4 number 2. Some of the students might get stuck at 5B. And if you're confused or not firm on your algebra, 5E might be one of them as well. However, the rest just doesn't feel challenging, okay, to be honest. Okay, 9B over here is one of the questions that they came out. It has been coming out in the past year. Okay, it's a very standard question. They're testing you here. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, overall, I think the paper wasn't the original paper. I think they curated and removed some of the question. Okay, especially the last one. It seems like it was just cut short for no reason. Okay, so that's it for the paper review of paper 42, a rather weird paper. I wouldn't say this is challenging. And given that this paper 4 is actually on the easier side, the threshold does justify that it went up for some reason. Okay, so one last shameless plug here. Okay, So if you're interested with our group tutoring and private tutoring classes, feel free to fill up the Google form below, and I'll reach out to you and give you the suitable advice on which class to join. So that's it for today. If you have friends that are struggling, feel free to share this to them. I will see you in the next video. Bye.